Welcome to Media Melanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back to talk about Dexter Original Sin on Paramount Plus with Showtime. We just got episode 8, Business and Pleasure. Can I just say how many villains are present within this episode? You've got a villain, you've got a villain, you've got a villain, and you've got a villain. We've got Estrada represented here. We've got the cartel and the Aaron situation, who was finally revealed to actually be the villain. Because let's face it, I had just the tiniest bit of doubt that just maybe, even though it seemed like he was the villain, maybe he was getting framed or they were planting some red herrings, but he is officially the villain. Aaron is a bad guy. We also got some ice truck killer Brian Moser context, and you know what? Let's face it, Gio is also a villain, and could there be a tie-in with the cartel? But the biggest villain of all could potentially be Harry. And I've got a new theory about the actual manner of Harry's death that I will get into in just a couple of minutes here. But before I do, please make sure you go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and like this video. I cover a lot of other dark TV shows. Right now, I am covering Paradise on Hulu, The Hunting Party on NBC, School Spirits, another Paramount Plus show, which is very cute. It's one I watch with my daughter. And coming up in February, The White Lotus. So much great TV this year, and I hope you stick with me for all of my TV talk. Let's start out with Harry and LaGuardia. First of all, the Miguel Prado mention, she really did not even need to clarify that he would be a future DA one day, because even those of us who haven't rewatched Dexter or watched it in a long time remember Jimmy Smith's character from season 3. Just the name Miguel Prado was enough. I loved that callback. Harry and LaGuardia, they do end up going to Tampa to investigate the NHI killings, which Dexter suspected is a serial killer. And he's right. Not only is he right, but all of these little clues they've been planting all season about Brian and the ice truck killer really paid off here. Harry finds the file as they're investigating people in Tampa who could be responsible for these killings. He finds the file, he puts it in his briefcase. LaGuardia, of course, ends up figuring out Harry is hiding something and does in turn look in the briefcase and find it. But my question is, flash forward to the Ice Truck Killer season 1 of OG Dexter. Does LaGuardia remember this little connection? I mean, I realize his name was Rudy, it was not Brian Moser, but if she looked at that picture, would her memory be able to track that moment with Harry from years ago? It's been a while since I've rewatched, and I don't recall if LaGuardia had any inkling of memory of this or could sense any type of tie-in. What's been the most interesting is that this is Dexter Original Sin, the prequel, the origin story, but we're also getting the origin of his brother, Brian. And my new theory is, could Brian actually have been the one to kill Harry? We know that Harry did OD from heart medication. Could Brian have been responsible for that and killed Harry? It would be a bit of a retcon, but not really, because it would be something that nobody knew until now. Why else would they be introducing all of the ice truck killer stuff? And I've just got to say, when there was that initial sighting of a character who looked like Brian Moser at the beginning of the season, I completely missed that. Thank you to Matt and Jess TV for pointing out that it was likely and very possible it could have been Brian, and they were so right. I really appreciate when other people catch these things that I necessarily do not. The beginning of the season for me wasn't quite as compelling, and I feel like I maybe wasn't quite as on top of paying attention. It felt like more of a background show until we really got into the middle part of the season. And this episode, it gave so much. What do you guys think? Is it possible that Brian is actually the one to kill Harry, and that's how we're going to end the season? I can't think of a better way to do it. People have mentioned and complained about the fact that a lot of these stories are things that we knew before, but this would be something new, something novel, and even more justification as to why they are doing the prequel. So I won't be surprised if we have Brian, the future ice truck killer, somehow be involved in Harry's death. And Dexter's not going to have any idea at this point because Brian does not come on his radar until Dexter proper. Let's see what ends up shaking out, but I would not be surprised. Moving on to Aaron and Nikki and the whole cartel son kidnapped situation. Again, we did get the official unmasking showing that Aaron is in fact the bad guy. Unfortunately, it does seem like Nikki did get a glimpse of him, and I'm still not 100% sure on the why of it all. Of course, yes, he is trying to frame the cartel, it seems, but we still don't know exactly why. I've got to imagine it has to do with both the judge and Aaron, a case that maybe they worked on. They got perhaps a verdict that they didn't like, or they're just trying to beef up the Miami Metro because obviously it's been problematic in many ways, and taking down a cartel, especially one that was responsible for kidnapping and potentially killing two sons of powerful men in Miami, that's something. I'm still waiting for some sort of Tanya reveal. She's still kind of just there, not giving a lot of context as to why they have cast Sarah Michelle Gellar in this role without more substance. We've got 2 episodes left, and I am also hoping that we get some sort of big Tanya reveal. Could her and Aaron be working together? Something I talked about in my last video. Because again, why would she have missed that blood drop on the box? Something is not quite adding up. What do you think is the deal with Tanya? Could she be working with Aaron, or is it something else? Or who knows, maybe she ends up being a victim. Perhaps she stumbles onto what Aaron is up to, and she's the one who ends up following Aaron and wants to take him down. But we also know Dexter is on his case. Maybe Dexter is the one who is continuing to look into Aaron, figure out exactly what's going on, and Tanya spots him and Dexter has no choice but to take her down. But ultimately, with Aaron's fate, I've got to think he ends up dead in this because he's not present in the OG Dexter. So something obviously has to transpire to either get rid of his character, have him move on in some way. And still, is he doing this all for revenge for his wife? I mean, there's, again, got to be the cartel tie-in somewhere, but just something about the motivation doesn't add up. And I mean, again, and it could be that maybe Nikki isn't even his son. We know about the long-term affair, but if those blood types do match, that does make me think he probably is his biological son and he won't kill him. There was the hesitation mark when he did cut off the finger. Obviously, Aaron is still having some misgivings about this, and it will be very interesting to see exactly how his plan comes together or falls apart, and we've got 2 episodes left to find out. I've just got to say, when they had that whole shootout situation, I thought it was Aaron who was going down then, and I thought, okay, great, this is a logical end. The character is going to die, but it was not. It was Bobby Watt who instead got shot in the neck. You're a bad guy, man. I really kind of hope you get what you deserve, and we will see very soon. Let's move on to Deb and Gio. Gio Martino, total bad guy. His dad is a powerful man who is obviously moving either drugs or some sort of something that is illegal, whether or not that is contraband, to be determined. I imagine it's drugs, given we see them doing cocaine, but Deb just can't help herself. She's all caught up in this rom-com shit, but you know what? She's still spotting what is being loaded onto Gio's boat while they are in Bimini. Not to mention, Dexter uncovers Gio does have a fiance. I'm not surprised by that whatsoever, and it also just grosses me out that this man is with a high school girl. Harry assumed Gio was in high school. Father of the year, not Harry. You do not pay attention to anything your daughter does. You are so caught up with Dexter, understandably, but bad dad, Harry, bad dad. Because now we have Deb all over on this island of Bimini by herself. Luckily, Dexter to the rescue ends up being able to take her home. But I've got to wonder, is Gio going to just let this go? If this is some sort of big picture smuggling operation, maybe he's even tied into Estrada or another cartel or something, is he just going to let this girl go, who clearly has a big mouth and has a wondering eye when it comes to spotting things, which will come into play because we know Deb does join the police force, and perhaps this is one of the driving forces that will get her there. The best part of the whole Gio and Deb storyline, and I've been asking for Deb to have more stuff, this was actually a conduit where Dexter gets an introduction to boat life, which means he's got his disposal methodology dialed in. I'm thinking he's going to be saving up his internship paycheck so he can buy his own boat. The boat ride with him and Deb on the way back to Miami. The callbacks of it all. Deb had thrown that bracelet into the ocean. It disappeared. The way that it just sunk down there, the way that Deb is on the boat with Dexter, it just gave me all the feels from that finale when Dexter disposes of Deb's body in the ocean. We have Dexter say, once it's gone, it's gone. I like how they've been developing Dexter's methodology of killing throughout this prequel. It's done a really good job of setting the table for the OG Dexter. And my next question is, will we get another season of this show? I imagine in the finale, we're going to have Laura dying, probably Harry dying. Will we get another season to see the immediate fallout from that and then launch into where the Dexterverse is with the original Dexter? I can't imagine it will get more than an additional season. Perhaps it will if they can continue keeping up with these really smart callbacks and keeping us engaged. And now that a lot of these actors have found their footing, and granted, I thought Patrick Gibson was great from the start, LaGuardia, Masuka, Angel, I mean, all of them have just been really great. And now they are just in such a groove here. So I do hope we get more seasons. And this has made me even more excited to watch Dexter Resurrection coming up this summer. Laura Moser. Oh boy, we all knew this was going to be coming. She is in the shipping container with her two sons. Laura's death is Harry's doing. We knew that was going to be the case, but for being a cop, Harry is not always thinking with this head. Meeting Laura in public was a huge mistake that ultimately leads to her death. And why? Because poor little Dexter can't help himself for approaching Harry and asking him to be pushed on the swings. Meanwhile, in the parking lot with binoculars are Estrada's goons, and they figure out she is talking to the police. Nail, coffin, sorry, Laura. It makes me feel so bad that Dexter was the one. Really, though, Harry should have known better. We're dealing with a big bad guy. Why are you going to make yourself visible in public with this woman? Harry, get over yourself. I love Christian Slater, and I've really enjoyed all of the Harry flashbacks, and I like where we're getting to Laura Moser's death, and I imagine it will be graphic. It's something, yes, we do know, and we've kind of seen before, but getting to witness it firsthand and propel us then into whatever is next for the Dexterverse, and tying in Brian Moser here, the ice truck killer, I mean, come on, you guys. This is just fantastic. Something that really got me regarding the shipping container scenes, though, besides the fact that there's really scared people in there and a chainsaw waiting to cut them up, is the fact that young Dexter is looking on. It's hard to tell. Is he a young, shocked child who just can't help but look and close his eyes because he's literally facing sheer terror and just a completely traumatic situation? Possibly. Or does he have this gene? We've seen Brian display some disturbing behavior at a young age. Dexter, not so much, but perhaps it's in him and this wakes something up, i.e., his dark passenger. We know Dexter was born in blood. The fact that he is looking on with fascination is slightly concerning. I would assume most kids in that situation would either be frozen with their hands over their eyes, screaming, but not Dexter. He's not even doing one of these peekaboo situations. He is straight on watching. Will he watch as his mother gets chainsawed to death? I hope not. I suspect he probably will. I can't remember exactly what the death scenes looked like or alluded to in the original Dexter, but I think we are in for some pretty graphic stuff. And I don't know about you, but it did concern me a little bit with Dexter looking on with that look in his eye. And props to the child actor for playing that part, the facial expression of it all. Perfect. Episode 9 is coming up next week, and it is called Blood Drive. What is coming up next? I can't wait to see, and I'm really curious to know, what do you guys think is coming next? How do you think the season will wrap up? I think I'm onto something here with the fact that we might have Brian Moser be the one to kill Harry and make it look like the overdose. I have a feeling that Brian might ultimately be responsible for Harry's death, and this is going to be news to all of us Dexter fans. I can't wait to see how this shapes up. Please, again, go ahead, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and stick with me for the rest of Dexter Original Sin Season 1, and then lots of other TV talk as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back again soon. Media Melanie, clicking off.